Alrighty, good morning everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our regular BOCC meeting for June 28th, 2023. Again, welcome to those in the room, those that may be watching on the live stream or a recording afterwards. If you do speak today, I do ask that use the microphones just so folks that are not present can capture what's heard. Before we call the roll, I'd like to invite up Pastor Alina Lamoretto to provide an invocation and lead us in the pledge. And ma'am, I hope I didn't butcher your name too badly.
That's right. I usually just say Pastor Elena because my last name gets to be a little bit much, so I understand that. Pleasure to be here this morning. The Lord be with you. Gracious Lord, we give you thanks for this day and this time and this place to come together. We give you thanks for Elbert County, this amazing area. We ask you to be upon this meeting, to be with the commissioners and all present, be with everybody in looking out for the best for Elbert County. Open minds for new ideas, open ears to hear what needs to be said, open eyes to see what's in front of us, open our hearts, hands, and feet to go out and do your will right here in Elbert County, looking out for all the citizens, the least, the last, and lowly, making it a place of welcome and comfort and home for all. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ma'am. Alrighty, it's 9:02. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Alrighty, first item of business we have is approval of the agenda. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. So our first item of business is approval of items on consent. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the items on consent. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. All righty. Moving on to elected officials, department head staff reports. Sherry, did you have anything? No? Okay. Sean, on the staff side?
We have one from our finance manager.
Hey, Tiffany.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Hermes, Finance Manager. Just want to give you a brief update on the audit for 2022. We have auditors coming out this week. We are not on task to have it finalized and submitted to the state by June 30th, so we will be requesting an extension. But we are in a much better place than we were last year, and we are behind this year due to our 2021 audit being so late. Did you guys have any questions for me?
At least for Ray and Associates, they're completed their work.
Correct. So we have completed our work with our consultants, and now we are just working with our auditors and finalizing and doing any of the requests that they're having.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Okay. Bart?
Commissioners, Bart Greer, County Attorney. I just wanted to let the board know, as you're aware, we do own a former Titan missile silo here in the county. It is county property, and it has been for several decades at this point. A portion of that property is not fenced out, has been utilized as part of an agricultural operation for some time. There is a current lease for that portion of property that's in place. The private property that's immediately adjacent is apparently under contract or in the process of being sold. And as part of that, the request is to essentially transfer or put together a new lease with the new owners of that adjacent property. I don't anticipate any issues with that. I don't anticipate a changing of terms for that lease. It is something that the county, should they need to, can exit fairly easily. But it does provide utilization of that property and some eyes on for that portion that's not actually fenced out on that missile silo property that the county owns. So I'm just asking for authorization to change the lessee on that particular property, if that's something the board would like to do.
Any issues with transferring the lease to a new property owner? No.
I have no issue.
Yeah, I would go ahead and just prepare the change in the lessee. Yeah, thanks.
We also completed the first phase of that compensation plan review. We conducted a market-based compensation review, and the findings were presented to you all at the last meeting. We made the recommendations, and those were approved. Those modifications for the first phase of that will be reflected on the June 30th paycheck. We're now entering phase 2 of the plan. The departments included in phase 2 will be Human Services, Public Works, Administration, which includes Finance, our County Attorney, County Administration, Human Resources, and then the other additional department we'll be reviewing will be the Office of Emergency Management. So we anticipate completing this phase and presenting it to the BOCC the week of June 10th for review and approval. We've already reviewed that part of it. This will bring us finally to the third and final phase of this compensation review, which keeps us in line with the compensation policy and the philosophy of the board. You wanted us to review this probably halfway through the year, so trying to stay competitive in the market, keep attracting competent employees, and also being able to keep good, competent employees. So we've been able to fill over 32 positions over the last few months. So we don't have many openings left. We have accomplished a lot and continue to work to build a more efficient workforce for the community we serve. The other item, basically, the Office of Emergency Management is not here to provide an update on the flood emergency, as they are preparing for a county visit from FEMA this week. So they are very busy still working on those assessments and reports as we move forward and finding out where we're sitting after that emergency. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anything? Okay, I know I had privately thanked you in HR, but after the changes in Road and Bridge, I did want to publicly acknowledge the great work that Sean and our Human Resources Department has done. You had mentioned bringing in 32 folks over the last several months. We had a lot of vacancies a few months ago in Road and Bridge, and getting that department filled prior to the rains of the last few weeks and having just the manpower available to address all the breaches in the roads, get repairs done, at least get closures marked, paid dividends. They wouldn't have been able to keep up at about 2/3 manning, which is where they were at a few months ago. So thank you. Have anything else from our county treasurer?
It's on. Can you hear me? Okay. Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer and Public Trustee. Just a quick comment for the citizens that are listening and those here in the room. The delinquent notices, I just sent the delinquent tax data file to my printer on June 16th. which is a lot earlier, probably a week earlier than I would have liked, due to my summer conference last week, and it takes at least a week turnaround to get the data to the printer and printed and mailed. So I just wanted the citizens to know that if you made a property tax payment after June 16th and you get a delinquent notice, please feel free to call our office just to verify and just disregard that notice. Unfortunately, as I stated, I had to get them out sooner than I wanted. So I didn't want any confusion, you know, with citizens out there that may have paid. And typically we do accept postmarks, so anything that was postmarked on the 15th, we would have accepted. But again, those payments wouldn't have been reflected on the data file due to having to get it to them early. So anyway, just give us a call if you have any questions, and we're happy to help. So, okay, thank you.
Just on the number of delinquencies, is it running
Well,
above or?
what I sent was close to about 3,000, which is about double what I normally would have sent. So, but I'm sure we've received quite a few payments since then. So,
Alrighty.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. I think that completes staff and elected. We'll move on to citizen public comment. This is an opportunity for folks to address issues that aren't on today's agenda. We would ask that folks that come to the mic that provide your name, your address, and then keep your remarks to 3 minutes or less. After everybody's done with public comment, depending on what issues are brought up, we may have some responses. We may have some items to take for future meetings. I did receive one email comment from Amanda. I believe that's the only one we had, and we don't have anybody that wished to be called. Is that?
That's correct, just the one.
Okay, so I will read the first comment, and this is from Miss Leah Bratton. She did not provide her address, but I think we may have that. She's spoken in the past. And she writes, hello, my thoughts on these proposed transmission lines in our beautiful, quiet Bijou Basin is that we do not want them. We were told the sound transmitted would be the sound of a generator. When you are used to silence, a generator is very loud. We were told we would get used to them. How do you get used to something that is a total eyesore when you live in with this beauty all around us? And she provided photos as well. My husband was in total opposition to this project being within 10 miles of our home, which is at approximately County Road 77 and Highway 86. His battle with XL began when he heard about the possibility of these transmission lines being placed in our view and earshot. My husband was the healthiest man I have ever known, and his blood pressure began to rise, and it took a toll on him. He died after 72 days in the hospital from a brain aneurysm caused by stress. Needless to say, I hate this project. Have a blessed day, Leah Bratton, and she provides her phone number. So, with that, I would open to folks in the room that may have public comment. Since this began with comment on the XL proposal, I would ask that folks that are speaking on that topic come up just so we keep all those comments together in the minutes. Thanks. Ma'am?
Morning. My name is Brenda Kelly. I live at 26501 Flowers Circle, Simla, Colorado. I'm here to speak again against the XL Power Pathway project again. You've heard the many, many valid reasons against this power line that I and so many others have made, so I won't repeat those. And I'm aware that you are still waiting for them to make application. But I am here just to remind you of a few things. First, that this project won't just affect a few. There are thousands that live out on the plains and even more that drive the Highway 86 corridor every day. I was in this room just a few weeks ago listening to just 14 impassioned homeowners objecting to a barn that was proposed to be built near them. And those in charge listening were swayed by those few pleas Today, I represent hundreds and hundreds who can't get off work to come testify to you that the power lines and the solar farms that have been promised to follow are going to be 1,000,000 times more impactful in a negative way than a large barn will be to those 14. While I was listening to them, all I could think of was how I wished my risk was just a large barn on the property next to me, instead of the giant solar towers that this county has already indicated they will allow within a quarter mile of my house. For some, living on tiny plots of land in suburbs like those over by Walmart, a quarter mile might seem a great distance. But for those of us who live out east, a quarter mile is just a drop in the expanse that surrounds us. I'd be happy to live with a barn that has no impact on my property and my lifestyle and my health, instead of a solar tower giant, which you've already heard from other testimony brings a lot of problems. Beyond that, the thousands of us that oppose this project don't just come to you or Excel without a solution. There is already a corridor to the east that could be used. It's not that far east. I can see it from my home. Yes, that solution comes with a cost to Excel and to the millions who will benefit from this power line, but that cost spread out over millions is not as great as the loss of one of the gems of Elbert County, the Bijou Basin, and our rural way of life. I ask you to please keep these things in mind when the application is provided to you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anybody else to speak on this subject? Ma'am.
Good morning, Carrie Giblets, 19656 Wiedemeyer Road, Kiowa. Before I begin, I wanted to personally and publicly thank our road and bridge crew. Their work has been phenomenal, and my family is so appreciative of the work that they've done. So I just wanted to say that before I started. As you know, I am on the board of the Elbert County Environmental Alliance, and our group has been opposed to Excel's preferred route for their power pathway for just about 2 years now. One of our many concerns is that of increased threat of fire, which would be present if these transmission lines crossed our property. Excel assures us, and I'm quoting from their website now, Xcel Energy first launched the Wildfire Protection Program in 2019 to identify, evaluate, and proactively minimize the risk of wildfire caused by our infrastructure. Yet just this month, authorities found that sparks from an unmoored Xcel power line were responsible for the deadly Marshall Fire in December of 2021. I'm sure you all have noticed the abundance of dead trees in this part of the county. Beetles and drought have killed so many of our beautiful pines. Now imagine a similar situation with those sparks from an unmoored Xcel transmission line. And with the tall grass that we have, the ensuing fire out here would be devastating. With the exception of Elizabeth, all of our fire departments are volunteer with limited resources. The presence of these high voltage towers would put us all at great risk. A May 2023 article from the Colorado Sun states, quote, Xcel Energy makes its money by building new power plants, pipelines, and transmission lines, getting that money back plus a return on top. And so year after year, Xcel Energy is investing in new infrastructure and seeking returns on those investments, end quote. Additionally, a May 2023 report from the Independence Institute found, quote, the more infrastructure a utility builds, the more profit it can earn, as long as the PUC approves these investments. Under this system, utilities stand to benefit considerably from an energy transition that forces the closure of still useful power plants and encourages a major build-out of brand new generation facilities and transmission lines, end quote. Last year, Xcel posted a profit of $1.8 billion. Yet Xcel is threatening our Elbert County residents with eminent domain to take our land so that they can build their profits off of our losses. I was glad to hear today that Darlene Carpio from Congressman Ken Buck's office was going to be here. This is not just an issue for Elbert County. It's a national trend.
Commissioners,
Across...
that's 3 minutes.
Can I finish? since
If
I
you can finish up
thanked them?
quickly.
I'm almost done. Across the United States, rural communities are banding together to keep high-voltage transmission lines, wind turbines, and solar projects from destroying their land. Counties are restricting these projects to preserve ecosystems. All of these projects benefit the larger metropolitan areas and help build profits for the utility companies. They are a threat to our rural lifestyle and our beautiful countryside. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any else, sir? Sir?
Good morning. Don Gray, 16,000 Highway 86, Kiowa. Speaking Excel again. I spoke to one of their representatives last week for probably 45 minutes or so. She enlightened me. I'm on the primary route as they're speaking to it. She kept calling it the finalized route, so I finally called her out on that. And she said, well, they said that we're supposed to be calling it the preferred route, but in reality, it's the finalized route. Her words, not mine. That's concerning to me, obviously, because it goes right across my property. She also spoke to the option agreements for all these landowners. They've already been written up by these agents. They just have not been given out to the landowners yet. Per her boss saying, we'll wait till we pull a permit and then we'll option out. That means they come in and they start offering money to the landowners to try to figure out an agreement so that they can trespass onto their property. Speaking of trespassing, she did say that they do use what they call a statutory survey, which means they go and get a revised statute and bring the sheriff out to your place and trespass. So when we're told that they can't trespass, they can eventually trespass if they go through this process. If you just keep saying no, they go to, however that works, I don't know the legalese to that, but they go to what she called a Colorado revised statute and have that issued. We may be able to speak to a lawyer about that, how that will actually work, or does it work. The final comment that I have today is the one I have every time I come up. Have we heard anything from Excel? Thank you.
Have anybody else on this subject? Ma'am?
Don't start the time yet. I've got a bit to say. I might go over, but I hope not. Okay. My name is Sunny Mills. You have my address. I am wearing all red today because after my family served for 10 years in Asia for the United States Army Corps of Engineers, I know the color red signifies death. I want you to remember death in my comments today as I list the facts about the coming KVA pathway. Ask my questions and speak. I want you to remember the death potential. First of all, let's remember the results of the Marshall Fire on December 30th, on 2021, shortly after 11 a.m., 2 people died. It was considered the most destructive fire in Colorado history, destroying more than 1,000 buildings, over 6,000 acres, and more than 1,000 pets died. The fire so hot they couldn't be rescued. It burned for 2 days and caused $1.6 billion in home damage. We will never know how many bald eagles, elk, and others died. After 18 months, on June 6th, at a news conference, the Marshall Fire Inquiry was completed. The multi-agency commission found Excel was indeed responsible for the fire and subsequent deaths. There are 2 distinct ignition points in this fire. One of them was Excel's, sparked by the sagging Excel power line that cast hot particles onto the surrounding dry vegetation. High winds caused the power line to disconnect from its poles and contact other lines. There is indisputable proof that Excel reattached the line to restore power. Excel denies culpability in any property damage or deaths. Now let's review the facts of the power pathway through Elbert that has death potential. High power line voltage creates electromagnetic fields through current power flow, which grows substantially under high wind conditions. The size is proportional to the current. Very high voltage lines can carry a very high current and produce high magnetic fields. Studies show that there is evidence, not enough with these high current lines, that cause mutations of DNA and is carcinogenic to life, whether livestock or people. It increases the chances of death. In electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs, caused by high voltage lines, wind creates much higher fields, and living near a line is dangerous and could cause death.
Commissioners, that's 3 minutes.
How much research and information has Excel provided the county? Can I continue, please?
We'll give you another minute, ma'am.
Of Elbert concerning illness and possible deaths. Power lines have caused more than 4,000 wildfires in Texas in the past 3.5 years, and in as many as 30% of the cases in which a single energized line conductor breaks and falls to earth, as in the Marshall Fire, causing many deaths. A line which has fallen can remain energized on or near the earth for a very long time, often multiplying tens of minutes, during which it produces high energy, high temperature arcing. Multiple transformers can explode, causing fire and high death potential. It is well known that hurricane-strength winds in excess of 75 miles per hour can damage electrical equipment and cause deadly wildfires. Power lines are sparking more wildfires as climate change makes landscapes more flammable and drives a movement to electrifying everything. If fire begins somewhere else and flies under the power corridor, they can cause sparking along the line, causing fires in other places than their origin point, and increasing death potential. Some fires grow out of control and spread to nearby forests. This will cause a crown fire with fire weather, which creates small tornadoes of their own and sparking embers that can travel miles and can result in deaths.
Ma'am, I would ask
Can
you.
I ask anybody if they give me their 3 minutes?
We don't do that.
Ma'am,
That haven't spoken yet?
ma'am, what I would ask, if you could provide the comments you have to Mr. Dettenreiter from CDS, so we have not gotten an application, but this is all good information that we can turn around to them to ask them to respond.
It is good information. Yeah. And in fact, there are some questions put towards you so that you can look into it and come to some conclusions yourself.
Okay.
But basically, I'm saying this is extremely dangerous, and there's much more information about these high-powered electric lines that are going to destroy the Bijou and everything in the wind's pathway.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak on this topic? Sir? No. Okay, no, that's
why I was waiting to see if there was anybody else. Time starts after I give my name. Bart McTaggart, 39600 Foxtrot Circle, Elizabeth, Colorado. Thank you, commissioners and everyone present. County government and its agencies, like all governmental bodies, has a basic primary responsibility, the safety and betterment of its citizens and its communities, equal, impartial, and fair treatment to and for all. Rules, regulations, and such are voted on, approved, and enacted within the community, with those principles in mind. An example would be temporary use permit procedures. Ignoring, bypassing, providing preferential consideration, or otherwise failing to follow or adhere to those rules and regulations can transfer liabilities and allow to inflict undue, irreparable harm onto its communities or its citizens. By not following or adhering to those rules and regulations, the opportunity for people to inform and consent is effectively overridden and eliminated altogether. If a business is granted special considerations for a temporary use permit, and as a result has inflicted damage and harm to its neighbors and community, because those rules and regulations were not followed or adhered to, such as an open hearing before this board, unforeseen issues and problems could result that could cost all parties, including the county, the business, and the community members, money that could be best used elsewhere. Additionally, businesses can move from one location to another and continue to receive special consideration and continue to inflict more damage and harm unto the surrounding community and citizens. And it can just continue to move and do that process over and over again. I would urge the county to be diligent in its management of such permits to help ensure responsible stewardship in consideration of approvals for any such permits. Ensuring that damage done because of granted special activities is properly corrected before granting additional permits or special or temporary permits is the responsibility of governmental bodies. I certainly understand and can empathize with the fact that a rural county like Elbert, managing all the rules, regulations, process, procedures can be daunting, burdensome, and difficult, to say the least. However, it only takes that one time for that one thing, for things to go wrong, and the domino effect that that can have on everyone can be severe and long-lasting. The county needs revenue generation. I understand that. But the cost of that effort can cause more harm and more money than the revenue that it generates. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. All righty. Do we have any other general public comment at this time? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Rolling back to, I guess, we'll start with Mr. McTavish. Appreciate the comments and understand what you're referring to. So, on the Excel side, for the comments that came in, I think it was mentioned, but we still have not received any requests for any pre-application meeting. There was I believe a brief conversation with staff of whether their project would be a major or a minor 1041. It's very clearly a major, but beyond that, there's been no contact with staff. Clearly we are aware of the findings for the Marshall fire. That will certainly inform what the request for information that we ask for if and when a application is received. So I know there was a direct question, Ms. Mills, on what information have they provided. They have provided none, because that would be in line with an application and request for information. But at this point, we haven't not heard from them. Is there anything you guys would like to say? Okay.
No, we really don't have anything to comment on that is based on facts. We've had quite a bit of citizen comments for phone calls, running into somebody at Safeways or something like that. And the conversations are all very similar to what you've presented. But we have no facts to reiterate or to respond to, and we wait. But from what we hear, and like this one gentleman was saying, there's been many, many people that have been contacted by someone. And when you ask that question, well, who is this someone? You kind of get this shrug like this, well, they're a contractor, or they're this, or they're that. So it's hard for me to make a reasonable, salient comment on when I don't know the facts.
I would just, I appreciate the thank you to Road and Bridge. Depending on what part of the NOAA website you look at, the rains we received in the last 4 weeks are either a 5 or 1,000 year event, and definitely they impacted our roads, and we've only been working on them for 150 years, so bear with us. But I believe Tomorrow we should have 13 open. There's about 7 segments out of 29 that were closed last weekend that will need quite a bit of rebuild. The remainder of the 29 are reopened. Of those 7, it does not leave any homes at this point that aren't accessible by road. At the height of this, there were 2 areas in the county where there were pockets of homes that could not be reached by road in an emergency. Those folks were coordinated with the local fire districts, were in touch, and we did have agreements with Flight for Life and other helicopter services to be able to get in an emergency. In one area, we did have permission from other landowners that would allow us, or the fire districts, to come in across property from another direction to get to homes if need be. So really can't say enough good things about what happened in terms of the coordination between local agencies, Road and Bridge, ROAM. They did fantastic work, and I know the second set of rains was very disheartening because it washed out quite a bit of what had already been repaired. As I said, when you get to the point...
One of which was my road.
Yeah, we'll get to it eventually. No. But when you run out of road closure signs in the county, you know it's a big event. So with that, we'll get to it in board planning, but at our next meeting, we'll have a chance to kind of run through all the data and the photos, and we'll ask OEM to give a fuller presentation on the amount of damage that was done. So I wasn't. We were just... No, I was not, ma'am. I was just kind of wrapping up public comment. If you would like to, ma'am, we'll give you a moment to speak.
Our road has become soft. My mother always warned me, don't drive on a soft dirt road, you'll flip over. Do you have any plans for adding aggregate in this emergency money to roadways that have not been identified as closed but have suffered problems from the rain?
The short answer is probably no. I mean, the emergency, any funding we get from outside will be to help support repair of clearly damaged, washed out infrastructure. The rest is the continuous struggle to build roads where you don't have hard granite, gravel, and you're dealing with a lot of sand and clay. But yes, the ground is, all the ground, including the roads, are completely soaked. So yeah, I just do ask people to be careful. Thank you. So moving on, our first discussion item, and I'd like to introduce a guest today. Darlene, if you could, is joining us from Congressman Buck's office with an update. So, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for that promotion for my boss. I'll let him know that maybe he should consider that senator thing, Chris. You have your hands full with your roads, with the flood damage that is going on. I have to tell you, my drive from Yuma this morning was absolutely gorgeous. Everything is green, but I've also seen the pictures of the damage that you're dealing with. So if our office can support you, whether it's letters of support, and Sean, you mentioned that there was a meeting with FEMA. If you reach that threshold, truly, I wasn't aware that you might get to that point, that federal support would be available to you. But if our office can help with that in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. We would appreciate the opportunity to do that. I also want to thank Carrie in your audience this morning for introducing herself to me and the concerns of many of the citizens with the Excel pathway. She asked if we had a statement from our office to share on that project, and truly, I do not. The only thing that I can share that the congressman, I think, has been heard to say before when it comes to energy is that he thinks that having a diversified portfolio of energy resources is huge for our nation's independence. And he supports all of those and strongly feels that none of them should be mandated, that they should be a free market deciding on how quickly and what our renewable resources will look like. So I don't know if that's helpful to the group. I did tell Carrie that I tried to see if there was a statement particularly on this project. Glad to share that if it's available. Couple of things to share legislatively from our office. Congressman Buck, along with others from the Colorado delegation, reintroduced the Water Act last week. And this is an act that will go to directly financially supporting agricultural infrastructure projects. We'll see if that can gain legs, but it has already seen a lot of good support. Glad to see that that's taken off. The congressman had a virtual roundtable with the commissioners in the region that I cover in the Northeast earlier in the spring. I think it was in March. And one of the requests that came from several commissioners was that if, in fact, federal dollars were going to be used to support renewable projects, whether it's solar or whether it's wind, they felt that it would be very helpful to include a requirement for decommissioning of that infrastructure. So if you're going to get federal money to build it, you need to use some of that federal dollars to make sure that it is properly disposed of at the end of its life cycle. So that, again, has gained a lot of attraction. He has co-sponsorship in the House, and we hope that that gets to hit the floor when they return to the legislature next month. So very helpful. Grassroots input from you gentlemen is just hugely supportive. We have to know what your issues you're dealing with so that they can be taken to the congressman's attention. So I thank you for any involvement that you may have had with that. Probably not new to you that dryland farmable CREP program was passed strictly for use on the South Fork area of the Republican River water basin. The purpose of that is to help meet contract compliance by making our conservation programs more available and more usable by our farmers and ranchers in the area. The congressman has introduced legislation in the House called Enhancing the Dryland Farmable CREP Program. So while that is now law, they are already identifying some ways that it can be more user-friendly. One of those is the rental rates that is attached to it. If we're going to get farmers to use that program, it needs to be as competitive as our other conservation programs. So there are 4 different amendments in that. I won't read you all those details, but he has introduced that into the House, and Senator Bennett, a huge partner as he sits on the Ag Committee, is introducing it in the Senate. So we'll hope that that also gets some support. As you know, my boss has probably been one of those rebels that did not support Speaker McCarthy's bill on the debt limit. The statement that the congressman shared after his no vote was that Republicans must distinguish ourselves from Democrats by taking a stand against out-of-control spending and reversing course before it's too late. So he remains to be that fiscal conservative that still thought that that was too much money that our country is spending to be in debt. He has a new pet project to review all unauthorized federal programs that are still getting dollars. There's about 1,100 of those, and he's kind of on a mission to see if those dollars can be put somewhere where they're much more useful to the folks in District 4. So lots of things that are going on. The congressman did also pass through the House the Back the Blue legislation. This has to do with supporting local law enforcement at the very most local level so that they can make their own decision-making and their own funding decisions. So we've seen a lot of good support with that. So lots more that I could speak about, but I also want to give you a chance to share, is there any way that we need to be supporting Elbert County? Any questions that you might have for me?
Thank you. You have any questions or comments? No, I did want to pass on my public thanks. Congressman did call Friday to
Good.
just ask how things were going and offer if there was an opportunity for federal help to be sure to reach out.
Good.
I know, and it is good news on the, it's good to see motion come out of the discussion we had on decommissioning of renewables.
And
the crop-
truly, it's kind of a short timeline for legislation to get, put into legal policy and then to find sponsors for that. So evidently, that is not just a localized issue.
Yeah, and I know as the wells are withdrawn around the Republican River area, being able to lease at a dry land rate versus what was once irrigated, I think will be a big win up there as well. So thank you.
It is, and hopefully we won't lose a generation of farmers when they shut that down. If they can continue farming it, it's good farm ground.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Appreciate it. The second item we have up for discussion is a potential U.S. Department of Transportation grant for safe streets. Tiffany?
Hello, Commissioners. Tiffany Hermes, Finance Manager. We recently hired a new employee in the Finance Department, and one of her specialties is grant writing. And within the first week, she was able to find this grant that could possibly help our Road and Bridge Department rebuild some of the roads and bridges that are failing or should have been corrected a while ago. This, of course, cannot be used with any federal funding, so this would have to be used outside of any FEMA dollars that we do receive. But we are applying for up to $10 million in a span of 3 to 5 years, and it is an 80-20 match. We will have to cover 20% of those costs, and then the grant will cover 80%. We're looking forward to this. The deadline is July 10th, and then we would possibly know within 60 to 90 days if we have been chosen for this grant.
Is that looking to replace some of these single-lane bridges that are out in the eastern part of the county that
Yes.
are, you can't pass on them?
Right, exactly.
I was going to say those bridges, most of those were put in place temporarily after the floods in 65.
Yes.
So, but yeah, appreciate the look and keep her going. I mean, this addresses some of the, if we can find suitable grants that frees up money, that gets to some of the issues that you were bringing up. So how do we address just kind of the general condition of the road network? So,
yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Yeah. Moving on to our action items. The first we have is consideration of minutes from our June 14th meeting. I would accept a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the June 14th, 2023 minutes as written and dispense with the reading of those minutes.
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the June 14th meeting and dispense with the reading. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, the next item we have is a hearing that we had continued on a liquor license for the Patch in Elizabeth. Before we open, my understanding is you're requesting a continuance today? Okay. Otherwise, I know Commissioner Schroeder had recused himself. If it's just a continuation, we won't ask you to leave the room. So with that,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reopen the liquor license hearing for the Patch in Elizabeth.
okay. I will second. We have a motion and a second to reopen public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're in public hearing. Sir, if you could.
We are requesting a continuance to the meeting at the end of July.
All righty. So that would be the second meeting in July is, the date escapes me, sorry. 26th. So a request for a continuance to the 26th of July at 9 a.m. at this location.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue this hearing for the liquor license in the patch in Elizabeth to July 26, 2023.
Okay. I'll second that. So we got a motion and a second to same time and location on the 26th of July. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. I would accept a motion to close hearing at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the hearing on the new liquor license for the patch in Elizabeth, that we close this hearing.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to close public hearing on the item at this time. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, the next item we have up is some cleanup of supplemental appropriations for spending that was incurred last year. Looks like in all cases the spending was matched or overmatched by additional revenues. I would accept a motion to open public hearing for the 2022 budget supplemental appropriations.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open a public hearing for consideration of a resolution for supplemental appropriation for the 2022 budget year.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open public hearing for 2022 supplemental appropriations. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Tiffany, the floor is yours yet again.
Hello again. Yes, after compiling our financials with our consultants, we found that we had 3 additional funds that needed supplemental appropriation. One being Fund 20, our Road and Bridge Fund. We had additional costs for repairs in 2022, and this will be funded by additional taxes collected. We budgeted revenue to be about $8.8 million when actual revenue was about $10.5 million. This will let us cover those expenses without affecting the fund balance. The second fund was our Fund 25 Sales and Use Tax. Again, we had additional road rebuild construction and then the road and bridge shop. Some of the costs were inflated. Again, we had additional revenues come in above the budgeted amounts of 3.8 and received 5.5. This again will cover those additional costs and will not affect fund balance. The last and third fund is Fund 85, our Growth and Development Fund. We had to increase the expenditures by about $1 million, and this was for improvements from our Elbert County facilities. We did have additional revenue in this fund as well, budgeted at $906,000 to 1.9. Again, this did cover those increased costs and will not dip into fund balance.
Thank you. Yeah, so I know it's last year being able to project what inflation would have been in 21 was, I think, caught everyone by surprise. But again, looks like in all cases, revenues exceeded or matched what we need, which is good. Have any questions or comments? Or?
No, I don't. It looks like all the checks are clear.
Yes.
You do need to use your mic. But.
I'm told to repeat that. I guess all the checks will clear.
Yes, they will.
So, which was a risk in 2000, so.
Yes.
And 2010. So anyway, I do thank you for that. Would ask if there's any public comment at this time. Okay, seeing none, I'd close public comment and ask for a motion to approve the recommended appropriations.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the resolution for supplemental appropriation to the Elbert County 2022 budget.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the supplemental appropriations that were presented. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. I'd accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we close public hearing on the consideration of the resolution for supplemental appropriation for the 2022 budget.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to board planning would like to have a presentation at the next meeting, just kind of an overview of the damages from the storms, what progress we may have made with FEMA or the state in reimbursements. Not for the first meeting, but in the second, would like to do some discussion on regarding whether we'd like to take a position on Proposition HH regarding property taxes and taper reserves in the state. We have any other specific things?
No, that's,
I think at that time, probably in our first meeting, just a quick update on where we are progressing with the audit. And then probably in the second meeting is time to start probably talking where we are for planning for budget for 24. So. All right. And at least that gets us started for our next meeting. That is all the business we have for the morning. So we're going to recess. It's 9:56. We'll reconvene at this location at 1 p.m. We're hearing an appeal of an administrative decision regarding the Reformation Church and a request for a height variance for a water storage tank at Spring Valley. So we're in recess, and we'll see folks back at 1 p.m. Thank you. We'll start.